Man, I am so glad Thor Ragnarok was like amazing, because if you didn't have Thor Ragnarok, in my opinion, the first two Thor movies are absolute just bottom of the barrel Marvel movies. Thor: The Dark World, I've already reviewed that. That movie does not hold up. That movie is so cliche, blah. But we gotta talk about back in 2011 when the first Thor movie came out, from the director of Murder on the Orient Express and a lot of Shakespeare movies. Kenneth Branagh brought us the biggest, Chris Hemsworth, the hottest guy in the world. He brought us this movie, Thor. Continuing on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies I have not reviewed, I am now up to the Thor movie. This is the fourth movie in the Marvel Universe that was coming out. It came out in 2011, and it stars Chris Hemsworth. And Chris Hemsworth was not a famous actor. He's not a household name like he is today. Like today, everyone knows who Chris Hemsworth is. He is the hottest man alive, everyone says. I mean, he is everywhere now. But in this first movie, he did not have the acting chops yet. He is great as Thor, I will say that. But if you watch the movies today compared to this movie, you can tell today he's got the character down right. But in this movie, you could tell he was like just figuring out the Chris Hemsworth Thorisms. You could tell like how he was talking and speaking and acting. Like it was totally different then. But no, this movie is Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh, and I do own this movie on Blu-ray. To anyone that knows, I do own it. Thor, he's the god of thunder, and his so-called not stepbrother. It is a stepbrother who is Loki, who's played by Tom Hiddleston. They are brothers, well, stepbrothers to their sons to Anthony Hopkins, who is the king of Asgard. And when they see Asgard for the first time, it still holds up today. The CGI on Asgard looks great and everything. And so basically Thor gets banned because he starts a war with the Snow White Walkers, I call them. But he gets banned from it. He goes to the Earth. He has no powers. And now he's got to figure his way to get back up there because Loki's the bad guy and he's taking over. So we got our movie. And I will say this. Chris Hemsworth, like I said in the very beginning, you could tell this is like his first major movie, maybe a first big acting role, because he isn't fantastic. I'm gonna be honest. He is good in the role, but if you watch what he has today, like Ragnarok and Infinity War and Avengers, he is so great. And in this movie, he's the long blonde hair guy with six-pack walking around talking like this and slamming coffee cups on the ground demanding more coffee, and it's just, it was really cheesy and the movie never broke through for me. I think this movie is a lot of cheesiness. Like Thor Ragnarok did it perfectly. Taika Waititi did it perfectly. This movie, they just had a Thor character and they had to give an origin story and they had to get through all the weird stuff. But the movie's not terrible. Like I've always said, none of the Marvel movies are terrible. They're just, some of them aren't as good as the other ones, and this one is not my favorite in all my opinion. But again, I do like seeing him on Earth. I like seeing him interact with all these characters since he's a god. He doesn't have his hammer, and so he's down there on Earth and he's stuck with Natalie Portman, which, I mean, I would be fine with. But she has a sidekick who's Kat Dennings, and she is annoying as hell, and they're all scientists, whatever. Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth, they did have chemistry in this movie. Second movie, no. In this movie, they had chemistry. Their dialogue between each other was really good. You bought their romance. You bought their growth throughout the entire movie. And the movie overall is pretty funny. I mean, I did laugh, and I enjoyed the movie. I laughed at it. Like, I mean, there are certain scenes where he's just, how he talks on the Earth, it's just funny. Especially the scene with the coffee. He's like, more coffee. And he slams on the ground. I mean, that's just funny in my opinion. But everything on Earth is interesting, but up there where Asgard is and everything, and Loki's taking over, and he's not really Asgardian, as everyone knows, and Loki's basically taking over, and he's destroying everything and taking over as king. And no one can lie. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. When we first saw him in this movie, everyone was like, this guy is badass, and we all loved him, and we all still love him. Obviously, certain events in Infinity War happened, and that did happen to Loki, but for what he was in this movie, he's a great villain. He is an awesome villain. He is still ranked in the top 5 villains for Marvel movies. If you see any Marvel movie list of top villains, He's always like top 3. Yes, you have Thanos now and Killmonger and stuff like that, but he's always 3rd or 4th or even number 1. But Loki in this movie, he's just a slick, awesome villain, and you kind of care for him because he isn't Asgardian. He is something else, and he just was put there, and he's his stepbrother, and he's not really part of the family. And he's like, you know what? I'm not part of the family, so I'm just gonna take over. I'm gonna do what my family genes told me to do. And you kind of get by him in the certain aspects. And then obviously you get a big CGI fight at the very end between him and Thor on the big golden bridge, I call it, which Idris Elba is the sky. Idris Elba, everyone talks about how such a badass he is. In my honest opinion, he doesn't do anything in this movie. Yes, he holds the key to Asgard to get through to Asgard and go to Earth. He holds like the teleporter pretty much. But in my opinion, he really isn't just, I mean, he's there, he's cool, but it's just not like, everyone's like, he's a badass. In this movie, I mean, he has that, like, he's just there. And then you get Thor's little group of people, which, to be honest, they never really just, they're the group of friends that he has in the very beginning, because he goes on an epic adventure, and that's the reason in the very beginning that the whole war happens between him and the White Walkers, and why Loki finds out about them, and how he's part of them, like a bunch of stuff like that. But overall, this movie, for what it was, it is cheesy, and everyone, if you ask anyone who reviews this movie, they're all going to say the worst thing about this movie is the directing. Kenneth Branagh was the worst person to direct this movie, in my opinion. I know he did Shakespeare, so give him like the God of Thunder who talked like this and stuff like that. But man, I mean, how many times in this movie have you seen cameras like that, and that, and downward, and upward? And it's just, dude, it is awful. There's some terrible cinematography and camera work in this movie, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad if you ask me. But again, the movie is still enjoyable. It has its funny moments. You like Natalie Portman and Thor's relationship. Again, Chris Hemsworth isn't 100% Thor if you watch it for the first time, but really saying that is because when you saw this movie for the first time in 2011, you were like, this guy is Thor. But when you get movies like today and you rewatch it, it doesn't really hold up his performance in this movie as he is in like Infinity War. Infinity War, he is fantastic. Ragnarok, he's fantastic. But in this movie, he was just the God of Thunder with a hammer that wheeled around and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to give Thor a C+. Again, it's not really my favorite Marvel movie. I know a lot of people do enjoy this movie a lot. Like, a lot of people very much enjoy this movie. Like, call it a really good Marvel movie. To me, it doesn't really hold up, but it is still a good movie. I mean, it's still watchable. I enjoyed watching it. I had my issues. It doesn't really hold up nowhere near as much as the other ones. Like, Iron Man 1 held up perfectly. And this movie didn't really hold up for me that much. But my next review is going to be Captain America, the First Avenger. I would be getting that review out next week, but I'm actually going to get to you guys very, very soon, actually. So that video will be coming up very soon, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye, guys.